The Denver Broncos just stole Deion Sanders' defensive mastermind, and that changes everything for Pat Surtain II in 2026. Guys, pull up a chair, because today I want to have a really honest, long chat with you. Just like we do at the bar after the game, or when we're shooting the breeze in the group chat until dawn. Because look, the Broncos' offseason is at a point I haven't seen in a long time. It's not that crazy spending spree, throwing money everywhere. It's not empty promises of, this time it'll be different. It's a quiet, piece-by-piece build that makes me stop, take a deep breath, and think, man, are we finally doing what needs to be done to stop being just another team fighting for a wild card spot and start actually dreaming of something bigger? We're in February 2026. Snow is still covering Colorado. The draft isn't even here yet. Free agency has barely started to heat up, and even so, Sean Payton and the front office are already assembling the coaching staff in a way that looks like a case study. First, Ronald Curry coming in to work with the receivers, then us managing to keep Davis Webb and Vance Joseph, and now to another piece that perfectly fits the puzzle, Robert Livingston. And I'll confess to you, when the name popped up, I didn't jump out of my chair celebrating like a free All-Pro. Just walked through the door. I paused, opened my laptop, dug up everything I could find about the guy, and spent about 2 hours just absorbing it. Because, the way I see it, this hire says a lot more about the Broncos' current mindset than any breaking news post out there. What catches my eye first is his background. 12 years with the Cincinnati Bengals as a defensive backs coach. 12 years in the exact same spot, climbing the ladder slowly, earning respect day by day. He's not the coach who comes in, has one good year, asks for a raise, and bolts. He's the guy who stayed, who watched the team rebuild, who saw Joe Burrow arrive, who saw Jamar Chase and T. Higgins become stars, and even then, kept his secondary as one of the most consistent in the league. I can only imagine how hard it must have been to maintain that level when all the salary cap money was going to the offense. Even so, during all those years, the Bengals secondary allowed one of the lowest completion percentages in the NFL, 99th percentile in some advanced metrics. That's not luck. That's teaching. That's detail. That's the ability to take an undrafted guy and turn him into a starter, and later, an All-Pro. Take Jesse Bates, for example. When he got to Cincinnati, he was just another second or third round safety that a lot of people doubted. By the end of Livingston's time there, Bates was the highest paid safety in the league and was heading to Atlanta with elite status. And it wasn't just him. Several other safeties and corners left there better than when they came in. That makes me reflect on what we have here. We have Pat Surtain II, who is already a top 3 corner in the world, but still has room to grow. We have Riley Moss, who showed some interesting flashes last year, but still needs consistency. We have Yaquan McMillian, that gym rat every fan loves, but who needs technical refinement so he doesn't get exploited in certain matchups. We have Jodin Barron, the defensive side's Troy Franklin anyway. The secondary has bodies, it has potential, but it's been missing someone who can squeeze the juice out of every single one of them every week. Every game. And that's where Livingston gives me the feeling of being the missing piece. Because he's not just about scheme. He doesn't show up with a 300-page playbook saying, this is how it's done, period. He adapts. He looks at what the player does best and builds the defense around that. Several of his former players say the same thing. He makes you feel like part of the plan, not just a pawn on the board. And that, to me, is pure gold in an NFL where coaches' egos often kill talent before training camp even starts. Now, let's talk about his stint with the Colorado Buffaloes, because that's impressive too. He arrived as the defensive coordinator for a team that was giving up 35 points a game. The next year, 23 points a game. A brutal drop in a Big 12 conference where the games are air raids, the scores look like basketball games, and everyone goes deep all the time. It wasn't magic. It was foundational work. Tackling, positioning, communication, reading. He took a roster that wasn't loaded with 5 stars and made the defense take a historic leap for the university. Prime Time, who doesn't hand out praise for nothing, said publicly that his biggest prayer was managing to keep Livingston because he knew the guy wasn't going to stay long. And he really didn't. But while he was there, he turned a weakness into a strength. I sit here thinking about what this means for the Broncos. We're coming off years of struggling against the passing game. How many times did we watch games against the Chiefs, the Chargers, or any team with a mobile QB and fast receivers, where the secondary simply melted down in the third quarter? How many times did the pass rush do its job, and the team still gave up 40, 50-yard big plays because someone blew an assignment? If Livingston can bring that consistency he had with the Bengals, even when the talent wasn't the best in the league, imagine what he can do here, with Surtain anchoring everything, with Vance Joseph still coordinating, and Payton running the whole show. And there's a detail I think is crucial and gives me peace of mind. Livingston understands culture. He coaches with joy. There's a quote of his I read that stuck with me. You don't make any plays with a frown on your face. He brings a lightness to the day-to-day, without losing the technical demands. This perfectly aligns with what Sean Payton has been building here. Because Payton isn't the dictator a lot of people painted him as when he arrived. He handed over play calling to Davis Webb not because he ran out of gas, but because he saw Webb had a better feel for our current roster. He brought in Ronald Curry for the receivers because he saw we needed someone who understood developing young talent. He kept Vance Joseph because he recognized the work he'd been doing. And now he adds Livingston. It's like he's planting seeds for a tree that will bear fruit for years. The way I read it, this all shows one thing that we fans have been dreaming of for a long time: continuity. It's not a rebuild every year. It's not turning over the whole roster every 2 seasons. It's building an identity. And in today's NFL, where coaching accounts for 25 to 30% of the variation in results much more than in the NBA. For example, having this kind of staff is the difference of 3-4 wins a season. 3 or 4 wins that separate a 9-8 team from a 12-5 team. That's separate watching the playoffs from the couch from playing in the divisional round. That's separate, almost there from now we're talking. But I'm not one of those guys who just operates on blind optimism, right? Let me throw some doubts out there, because I think it's important for us to be honest. Will all this magic he worked in college translate perfectly to the pro level? The speed is different. Route complexity is different. The talent of the receivers we face is on another level. It might be that the first year is an adjustment period, that he needs to tweak some things. It might be that against teams like the Chiefs and Ravens, he needs some time to find the right answers. I don't know. Nobody knows yet. But his track record with the Bengals gives me confidence because he's already faced NFL competition there. He's already faced Patrick Mahomes in his prime. He's been to the Super Bowl and delivered. So, to me, the risk is low. The upside is high. Let's think about the practical impact on the field. Short term, I believe we're going to see fewer explosive passing plays against us. More third down stops by the defense. More forced turnovers because the coverage will be tighter, smarter. That takes the pressure off the pass rush. Barron, Cooper, whoever is up front will be able to breathe a little easier because the QB will have less time to survey the field. That creates short fields for our offense, which already has Bo Nix developing, which already has good young receivers. It's a positive chain reaction. Medium and long-term development. We have several young guys in the secondary who can be key pieces for 5, 6, 7 years. Having a coach who has already proven he knows how to develop mid-tier safeties and corners into elite ones is a huge differentiator when it comes time to decide who to keep, who to draft, who to bring in through free agency. And all this before free agency really heats up. Imagine when the draft gets here, when we manage to add 1 or 2 more pieces. Payton is putting together a defense that can be consistently top 10, not just for one good season. I sit here reminiscing about how it used to be. Remember those years with Vic Fangio, who had a great defense, but relied too much on individual talent. And when the talent left, the whole thing collapsed. Or worse, the disaster years. We don't even like to remember. Today feels different. It feels like there's a long-term vision. Payton isn't trying to be the lone genius. He's surrounding himself with good people, people who teach, people who connect. And that, to me, is what separates a good team from a championship team. Another thing that catches my attention, the coaching tree growing around him. Today, there are already 4 head coaches in the NFL with direct or indirect ties to Payton. Davis Webb will probably be the next. Vance Joseph has a shot. And I believe Livingston does too. That shows the guy knows how to identify talent, not just in players, but in coaches. And that's rare. Look, I'm excited, but I'm excited with my feet on the ground. It's not, we're going to win the Super Bowl this year. It's we're finally doing things the right way, and this could pay off for years to come. Free agency is still coming. The draft is coming, training camp is coming, the snow will stop. Empower Field will be packed again, and we'll get to see in practice if everything I'm saying here will hold true. I wanted to stretch this conversation out a little more because there's so much to talk about. For example, how Livingston played safety in high school. He understands what the player feels on the field. How he worked with Lou Anarumo, one of the best defensive minds today. How former players like Deion Sanders and others speak of him with a fondness that isn't common. All of that adds up. All of that gives me the impression that this isn't just any hire. It's a calculated hire. And what if I'm wrong? It could be. It could be that the guy gets here and needs a year to adjust the scheme for our personnel. It could be that the NFL level demands something of him that he hasn't shown yet. I'm open to that. But looking at the track record, looking at what he did with less talent, looking at how he connects with players, I think the chances of him succeeding are much higher than failing. So, Broncos country, I want to hear from you now. What are your thoughts on this Robert Livingston hire? Do you see him elevating Pat Surtain to another level? Do you think the secondary will finally stop leaking big plays? Or are you more cautious, wanting to see it in practice first? Leave it down in the comments. Take your time, a novel if you want, because I read everything. I want to know the opinion of those who have followed the team for years, who remember the bad times, and who are dreaming of the good ones that might be coming. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. It's not just to celebrate a signing. It's to really exchange ideas, to reflect together, to build that aware fanbase the Denver Broncos deserve. We're in this together, guys. Let's take it easy, but let's have faith. The offseason is just beginning, and for the first time in a long time, it's making me genuinely optimistic.